Welcome everyone. We are extremely excited to be offering you an opportunity to learn the Sefer Chofetz Chaim, one of the most well-known Sefarim throughout Klal Yisrael, the book that teaches us the laws of guarding our mouths from speaking lashon hara, gossip and evil speech. But before we get into the body of the work itself, let's give a brief biography on the author of this magnificent work, Rav Yisrael Meir HaKoyin Kagan, who himself is known as the Chofetz Chaim because of this famous book that he has written. The Chofetz Chaim, Rav Yisrael Meir, was born in Vilna, in a place called Zetel in Poland on February 6, 1838. And he died in 1933. So we're talking about a man who lived for 95 years. He was known as one of the greatest tzaddikim of his generation, and we haven't had tzaddikim like this ever since. Until the age of 10, he was taught primarily by his father, and then they moved to Vilna, where he was able to further his studies. He didn't want to become a pulpit rabbi, and therefore the Chofetz Chaim settled in Radin, and he had a small grocery store that he and his wife managed together, and that's how they were able to make sure that they could survive and support themselves. And the way that it worked, that everybody wanted to go to the Chofetz Chaim store because he was such a righteous man. They knew that he was honest, and they felt that perhaps special brachas will come to them if they eat his food. And he realized that everybody was coming to him and his competitors were losing out. So the Chofetz Chaim decided that from now on he's only going to keep the store open as long as he needs to make the money necessary to live for that particular day. And then when people realized that he was only staying open for a short amount of time, everybody was hoarding to his store. Eventually he got to the point where the Chofetz Chaim had felt he had no choice. He just shut the store altogether because he would, chas v'shalom, God forbid, be responsible for causing the loss of livelihood and parnasa to other Jews that were depending on selling their wares from their stores. Now, as his reputation grew, people were flocking from all over Europe to learn by him. And in 1869, he began what was known as the Radin Yeshiva. It became one of the most elite yeshivas in all of Poland, which was attracting hundreds and hundreds of young men from all over to come and learn on a very high level. He had a wonderful, amazing yeshiva with the greatest of staff, the greatest of Talmidei Chachamim that were leading it as the Rosh Yeshiva, as the Meshgiach, and the like. And yet the Chofetz Chaim himself continued going around the world, around the country where he was, to be able to be mechazik, to strengthen the Jewish people in Torah and in mitzvahs, whatever he felt they were weak in and what they were lacking in. The Chofetz Chaim made sure to go and speak to them and inspire them and elevate them. And in his humble way, he would begin many of his drashas that I'm not talking to anyone here besides myself. I have what to work on. I have what to grow in. I have what to change. And if anybody else is listening, and you'll be inspired together with me, so we'll be inspired together. But the mussar that I'm giving right now, the rebuke, it's not to you, said the Chofetz Chaim. I'm talking to myself. Now, he was one of the things that the Chofetz Chaim did because he felt so strongly that the Jewish people needed to understand how to live as a Jew. He ended up writing 21 Sefarim in his life. 21 books, not just easy books. These were some of the most intricate and in-depth and complicated subjects that you could imagine. And his first Sefer that he wrote was Sefer Chofetz Chaim, the book that we're going to learn on lashon hara. That was in 1873. That means that at this time, the Chofetz Chaim was only approximately 35 years old. And he wrote a magnus opus work on the halachas of lashon hara that had never been produced before. Now, just to understand where the Chofetz Chaim was holding when he wrote this book, there's a whimsical story that tells that later on in the Chofetz Chaim's life, a man came to the Chofetz Chaim requesting a haskama, an approbation for the book that he had just written. He said he wrote a book on anger control, and he was teaching Klal Yisrael how to control their anger and eradicate anger from within. So the Chofetz Chaim was sitting at his desk learning, and he said to the man, do me a favor, leave the Sefer right over here, the manuscript. I'll take a look at it, come back next week so I can give you a haskam and approbation. The next week, the man knocks on the Chofetz Chaim's door. He walks in, and the Chofetz Chaim looks up and says, ooh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to look at your Sefer this week. Come back next week, I'll take a look. The next week, the man comes back. He knocks on the door. He comes in, the Chofetz Chaim, his head down, and the man says, Rebbe, did you have a chance to look at the Sefer, which was sitting on the Chofetz Chaim's desk in the same exact place? And the Chofetz Chaim said, oh, please forgive me, I'm so sorry. I was so busy this week with communal affairs and the like, I didn't have a chance to read it yet. Please do me a favor, give me another week, come back next week, and then I'll have a chance to have read it. The man was getting a little bit perturbed at this point, but you're not going to get upset with the Chofetz Chaim. And the scene repeats itself another week and then another week. And by the fourth time, when the Chofetz Chaim tells the man, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't get a chance, the man lost it and he began screaming and yelling at the Chofetz Chaim, Rebbe, how could you do such a thing? You told me you're going to read it. You told me you're going to look at it. And the Chofetz Chaim said, calm down. Don't get angry. And the man said, I'm not getting angry. Just why did you look at the book? And the Chofetz Chaim said, that's exactly why I didn't look at your book. You bring me a manuscript about how not to get angry and to control yourself. So I wanted to know if you were actually a person who had worked to be in total control of his anger. And he said, and I see that you're not. You should know that when I wrote the Sefer Chofetz Chaim, the book about Lashon Hara, I was only willing to publish that Sefer when I myself felt that I was holding in every single halacha, every scenario, and I had total control over my mouth, not to say one single word of Lashon Hara, of gossip, of ill speech about another single Jew. Only then would I publish this book. And therefore this Sefer Chofetz Chaim, written by the 35-year-old tzaddik, Rav Yisrael Meir HaKohen, it was written painstakingly after years of in-depth study and understanding. This is before computers, before the Bar Ilan program, before AI, before Google, before anything. That means that the Chofetz Chaim went from one Sefer to the next, one Sif in the Shulchan Aruch to the next, one Risha in one commentary to the next, and he put it all together in a systematic way, so that we, Klal Yisrael, over 100 years later, that we are still able to benefit from the great Sefer of the Chofetz Chaim, to be able to learn his wisdom, to be able to understand how to control our mouths from speaking Lashon Hara, in order that, as the Chofetz Chaim himself will say, it will help to be Mevi Geula La'olam, it will bring the Geula Shlema, the ultimate redemption with the Bias Koyat Tzedek, the coming of Mashiach Zidkenu, Bimheira V'Yameinu, speedily and in our days. So now we are prepared to learn the Sefer of Rav Yisrael Meir HaKohen, Sefer Chofetz Chaim, the anthology and the authority on the laws of Lashon Hara, evil speech. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to beginning the Sefer tomorrow, Be'ezras Hashem. All the best.